let's talk about why Gen Z is saying no to the modern job market. So the job market has been steadily declining for a while now, especially amongst Gen Z, millennials, even Gen Alpha, right? As far as, well, Gen Alpha, I don't think is old enough to work, but as far as young people are concerned, right? Anywhere from 18 to 35, right? In that range. We're saying no to minimum wage work, mostly retail, and jobs that just have a wage that is not livable, right? If you go to work, right, and you can't expect to be able to pay your bills and afford not only yourself but food for your family, gas, basic things, necessities for your family, right? Why are you going to be interested in working a job that can barely help you do that, right? And so a lot of people nowadays have to resort to two incomes, right? Either obviously if you're working with your if your spouse works, right, then that can obviously be an aid. But as far as one person goes, like one person in a household goes, it's damn near impossible to survive and just work a standard 40 hours even at a decent paying job. Like even jobs that pay $20 an hour, that's, in some states, that's not enough, right? We need to, once you get into that 30 range and it's like, okay, or high 20s, it's like, then that starts to become more feasible as far as your survivability. But as far as like just maintaining your level of livelihood, like these jobs aren't doing it, right? And then especially fast food and retail, like who the fuck's gonna go do that? Who's gonna go work for, I know some places, I'm in Florida, right? Some places pay like $13, $14 an hour. That's like 400, and that's if you get 40 hours. I know a lot of just entry level positions, like just regular workers, clerks or whatever, you go work a job, you might be able to get 40 hours, right? If you're lucky, if you're decent, maybe if you're a good worker or, people like you. But your average person, right, you're getting cut to 30, even 20 hours a week, right? Like, so companies aren't incentivized to give you what you need to survive and also thrive, right? Forget even surviving. What about helping you build wealth? Like, people don't give a fuck, right? Everyone, especially in corporation, for the most part, there's some companies that I think care about their people. But as far as the majority of, big corporations, it's really the survivability of people in the top rankings, right? Who make a good amount of money and who want to keep a large chunk of it for themselves. So again, I'm not here to make you feel like you're oppressed, right? Because this is not what this channel is about. I'm about solutions. I'm not about victimhood. But I can't help but state the reality that this is what it is. Like, as far as why you're not getting paid enough or why jobs just don't want to pay. So with that being said, I recommend a lot of different things. And as far as, some statistics go, 60% of people say that the number one reason that they don't want to work in fast food jobs or retail type jobs is because of the pay, right? So as far as, because you'll go, if you drive around in your local city or local town and, you look at like different places that are, retail associated, like they'll have hiring signs up. Like I know this one, I'm not going to name it, but I know this one restaurant, it's had a hiring sign on it for literally 2 months, right? So 2 months it's had a now hiring sign. That should tell you something. That should tell you something, that it's not that there's not enough people in that area. It's that the people that do live in that area are not looking to work somewhere where they can barely afford to live, right? Like, especially, you got to look at it this way too. If you're someone who's like Gen Z or maybe even in your late 20s, early 30s, right? You're still living at home. Why would you got to ask yourself, why, if you're living comfortably, right? If you don't have to pay bills, if you don't have to, go out there and figure things out for yourself, right? And you're living with your mom or your parents or your grandparents, whatever. Why on God's earth would you put yourself in a situation, right, where you're going to go work 40 hours or if that, if you get lucky, right? 30, even less sometimes, right? Depending on where you're at and the volume of the population, right? Like how much traffic they're bringing in. Why would you go work for someplace that's barely going to pay you shit when you can literally be at home and do what you want, like study or I'm not saying that, you should just be hedonistic and just, live a life of complete, like pleasure, right? I mean, but at the same time, like I look at people like that and I don't sit there and be like, yeah, you're just lazy, you're a bum, you don't want to work. No, it's like, what incentive do young people have nowadays, right? I understand that everyone has to start out somewhere. I'm not here to say that everyone just deserves a high paying entry level position, but I can't help but just state the fact that, like, why do jobs not even allow, like, there's some people, like, for example, some kids or Gen Z that, made bad choices, right? Now they have 2 kids from different baby mamas. Okay, that's understandable how you couldn't, afford to live, right? And certain people, just don't deserve to have a living wage, right? Just because they fucked up, right? They don't make good choices. But even your average person who hasn't made any bad choices, hasn't done anything, horrific to stifle themselves financially, right? They're not looking at a place, a retail position or any position that offers anything under $20 realistically, right? Like, I feel like 20 is like even the bare minimum, as a place that's feasible, that's like worth working at for between 30 and 40 hours. No one's looking at that shit, right? And 40% of young people nowadays actually earn extra money online, right? So whether it's freelance, whether it's business, whether it's social media, whether it's helping other people on social media, whatever the case is, people are making money online, whether it's reselling. So as far as like working a regular 30 or 40 hours a week, like it's just not something that's like a main priority, right? I mean, obviously, if you want to live by yourself, yeah, you have to figure out how you can make extra income in a job or, on the side. But as far as, young people, like, why go out there and suffer, right? And I get, I don't promote like staying at home, right? Like, I think it's a good idea if you're working towards building wealth. Like, if you're going to stay at home and you're going to work, right? Put all of your money into things that will grow, right? Because if you're at home, obviously you have limited expenses, right? Maybe your mom or dad might charge you rent, but I can probably say for the most part that your parents will help you out and let you live for free, right? If they love you, if they care about you, if they want to see you do well, they'll help you, right? As long as you're doing work and figuring things out as far as your career, as far as your direction in life, right? I think your parents will be there to help. But if you live at home, like, your biggest thing, if you are going to work, minimum wage or fast food or just any sort of job that doesn't pay as well, like a low wage position, you should be investing, I would say, at least 90% of your money, right? Obviously, you should save some money, but for the most part, if you plan on living at home for 5 or 10 years, like, let's say you're 20 right now, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to go out there and live on my own and work these jobs, right? If you're going to work them, I understand, but if you don't want to work them forever, if you're at home, if you invest your money, if you learn how to trade, if you learn how to dollar cost average over time, right? And you learn how to make money online or learn some form of social media marketing or content creation, whatever, freelance, anything, right? Anything you can acquire and learn and market, then you won't have to work a minimum wage job in your 30s and 40s, right? Like, if you spent 10 years, let's say from, again, 20 to 30, right? Let's say you did work minimum wage, but, you were able to pocket 90% of your money, then yeah, it's worth it, right? Like, because the point being, the whole goal for your job or whatever you do primarily is to be able to pocket money. No one wants to work just to have all of their, or 90% of their income go to fucking expenses. That is what slavery is, right? So if you're able to work, right, and live for free, or even if you live with roommates, right? Like, I talk about this a lot. If you're able to do that, right, and set up a good living situation to where you can pocket most of your money, then investing it, right, and having it grow in large chunks, right, on a weekly, monthly basis, right, that'll be worth it. Right? But again, if you're gonna try to live on your own and figure things out and try to work minimum wage, then I don't think that that's a good idea. But that's precisely what most young people are looking at right now. They're not looking at it just like, hey, like, this is something I can just do on the side and until I figure something else out. No, people are looking at these jobs as like, hey, like, why aren't they able to give me a sustainable way of living? Why am I not able to pocket money even if I live by myself? Why does all of my money go to utilities, expenses, food, gas, etc., right? Like, so again, if you're living with somebody or if you have a good budget and you're able to minimize your living expenses, perfect, right? Because you're able to invest most of your money, you're able to see it grow, and you're able to recycle your money, right, every few years to reinvest so you can grow your income, right? So you can grow your passive income. But again, if it's not that, then the attraction to just regular jobs, anything, not even retail or fast food, anything that pays under 20 an hour in most states is not a lot, right? I'll be honest with you. So yeah, this is a big problem, and unfortunately speaking, you know, there hasn't been a lot of change, right? Especially when it comes to, you know, housing and, you know, young people just being able to afford homes, live on their own, and develop, and, you know, whether it's create a family or just be free. Like, it's not just about family and, you know, if you're young, you know, dating and having people over, that's cool, right? But it's more so like, hey, like, it's just to be free, just to not have to live with your parents forever. That's fucking depressing. And I read a stat the other day. I was going through like X and, you know, reading through like a financial page or something, and someone said like, or they did like a survey or a poll, and I guess 70% of people, like young people aged like 18 through 35, said that the American dream is like dead, and like there's just like growing pessimism as far as like, you know, being able to live on your own and being able to have the so-called American dream that, you know, we once had here in America. So, you know, I think there's strategy, there's a way to go about your life and your finances and your budgeting to be able to, you know, set yourself up for success, you know, in your early 30s and early 40s, and be able to, you know, live like a normal fucking person should be able to live, right? But, you know, it's tough, right? And, you know, I also, like, 2019, like the years 2019 to 2022, housing increased 43% and wages only increased by 7%. So we're looking at housing increasing 4 to 5 times. Some, you know, right now I think it's like it's increasing 2 times the amount compared to wages, but the wages aren't going to keep up, and they will continue to not keep up, right? So again, you have to look at your life right now, analyze your situation. I think the first and most fundamental thing is, like I've been saying throughout this whole video and in prior videos, is just being able to set yourself up for a good living situation, because anything you do from that point, even if it's minimum wage, even if it's just starting out just to save some money, will be beneficial to you. But working minimum wage with no benefit to you, right, having no ability to save, no ability to invest, is just, it's fucking slavery, right? Guys, and here's my thing: slavery and being broke is definite. I define it as pretty much all of your earned income that you spend 8 hours a day, all of that money just going to sustainability, right? Like, if all of your money just goes to you being able to survive another day, then you're fucked, right? So again, that should be a litmus test for you to see where you're at in life, and possibly where you can cut your budget so that you can do what, you know, is going to help you build wealth and also give you the time to develop your skills and develop your career or your profession, right? Because again, if you're working, it's another thing too. For the most part, right, most people I know that live on their own, that are in their 30s, 40s, and sometimes even 50s, right, just regular adults, right? Like, because I've worked in restaurants and retail, right? These people have to work 2 jobs. Imagine going to work every single day knowing that your 70 hours of work that you put in every single week is just going to survival needs. It's not going towards investments. It's not going towards savings. It's not going towards building up your skills, building up any form of competence in a career field or profession. It's going just to survive, just to get to the next day. That is a problem. That is what is scary, and that's what you should fear the most. So, you know, I think most of you guys are on point, but I'm just making this video sort of to just bring this more to the forefront, because again, I mean, a lot of people are talking about it, but not a lot of people are suggesting, like, you know, giving you suggestions as to what to do. And I'm telling you, starting off living with your parents for a few years, or living with roommates, right? If you know, you have a tough family situation, or you know, you just want to live with roommates, you prefer that. Either or, right, is going to be foundational for what you can build after that, right? It's about laying your foundation so that the house is easier to build. But if you have a shit foundation, right, it's going to be very hard to layer the bricks to build a house, right? Because the foundation's rocky, maybe the bricks might slide off, right? So, you know, I'm just giving you guys a metaphor here, but the point being is that you need to figure out how you can set yourself up so that it's easier down the line, and you can put most of your income into skills and investments so that, again, you don't have to fucking retire at 65, 70, shit, even later, right? Like most people. Yeah, so, you know, the job market sucks, right? You know, working for other people sucks. Not because, you know, obviously, you know, having bad bosses and having shitty coworkers is something that no one likes. But for the most part, again, 60% of people say that they don't want to work in retail or fast food or, you know, these low wage jobs because of the pay, right? I think for the most part, like, let's say you entered a job and you were getting paid 25 to start, or even like 22, that's not bad. Anything over 20, right? If you were getting paid that to start, or even maybe 18, 19, but you know, these jobs, they pay fucking 13, 14, thinking like that's like good, right? Especially with, again, the increase in housing. But if you're getting paid that, right, I don't think a lot of people would care about their boss or their coworkers as much. Now, obviously, a bad boss, a toxic boss, and shitty coworkers are not fun, even if you're getting paid a good chunk of money. But I don't think it would be something where it's like a 911, I gotta leave and figure something else out, right? Like, you'd be like, okay, at least I'm getting paid a livable wage and a wage that I can, you know, take the money I'm getting and at least put it away for savings or whatever. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.